When it comes to free-to-play mobile games with high levels of polish and production value, it's hard not to think of Hoyoverse. As the developers of Genshin Impact and Honkai Impact 3rd, they've made a big name for themselves in the mobile gaming market. And it's kinda clear that they ain't holding back either with Honkai Star Rail, their latest game that will take players on a journey of cosmic proportions. Star Rail has that gorgeous charm that makes it stand out in the App Store. And it's always good to see mobile gaming titles being made with a whole lot of love. So join us here today at Game Made Information Station to see if Hoyoverse's foray into the stars might be worth our daily logins. Disclaimer: the score given in the video is based on the presentation of pre-release info and does not reflect a finalized score of the game. We will be making a follow-up video post-release, reviewing the game to give a well-informed final score. Honkai Star Rail puts you in the shoes of the Trailblazer, as you board the Astral Express to venture into various worlds, get to know the game's fascinating characters, and dive deeper into the intertwined concepts that shape their universe. As big fans of games like Mass Effect, Star Ocean, and Phantasy Star, seeing Hoyoverse's art style in this kind of setting was something we always wanted more of. With regards to its namesake, Honkai Star Rail doesn't really require players to know much about Honkai Impact 3rd, but it will feature its own versions of some returning characters. Familiar faces such as Himiko, Seal, and Bronya are there, but will serve as their own unique entity, so newcomers won't have to worry at all. The exception to this would be Welt Yang, but even that isn't as relevant to much of the experience. The game initially starts off with the ultimate goal of removing a world-ending life form called a Stellaron that was implanted into your character at the beginning of the game. But if Genshin and Honkai Impact are any indications, things may turn out to be more complicated than it seems. Actually, the game's opening does a great job of setting up a lot of interesting questions that will definitely entice players to immerse themselves in the narrative. There's also a lot of decent character depth in the stories which left us wanting for more. That's definitely a good sign for any self-respecting RPG. The notion that Star Rail is just Genshin in space doesn't really sit right anymore, since it's a fundamentally different game as far as combat and exploration are concerned. The game features a traditional turn-based combat, albeit one that looks and feels really good to play, kinda like Persona 5 as far as spectacle goes. True to mobile gaming fashion, it's quite easy to get into. You'll be managing a party of 4 with each character having their own basic attack, skill, and ultimate ability. Using a character's skill will consume skill points, which are gained by performing basic attacks. It's a simple yet intriguing system that encourages players to find the right balance between consuming and regenerating skill points. Characters will eventually generate energy, and will be permitted to unleash an ultimate once the energy meter has been filled. What's interesting about ultimates isn't just that it's showcasing Hoyoverse's knack for spectacle and visual eye candy, but also the fact that it can be unleashed outside of the respective character's turn, giving combat an extra layer of depth. Known mechanics such as exploiting elemental weaknesses and buffs are here as well, along with a class system known as paths that have cooler names than it has any right to. The combat is very reminiscent of traditional mobile turn-based systems, with some neat twists that's sure to keep us addicted. It may seem simple on the surface, but if you guys have played games like Fate Grand Order, Exos Heroes, and Sword Art Online Unleashed Blading, then you'll know how deep and intricate things can get as you make strategic and tactical decisions in and out of combat. Exploration feels very similar to Genshin, but leans closer to something of a classic RPG with areas being divided into different zones, as opposed to being an open world. Each character also has its own technique attack that can be used during exploration to initiate a battle in favor of the player. These abilities differ per character, and can take the form of foes taking damage, a debuff, or even enhancements on your own party. Overall, it's a different experience from Genshin. While the departure from action and open world may seem like a downgrade to the uninitiated, it is apparent that Star Rail is a much more convenient game to play on the go. The turn-based system also makes for quicker game sessions that don't seem to compromise on engaging gameplay or spectacle. For better and for worse, the gacha system also follows Genshin's footsteps, with the presence of the same pity system that gives a 50% chance of getting the promotional character after a certain role, then following it up with a guaranteed pull at a certain point in the event that you didn't get the promotional character beforehand. The quality of the characters you get weigh in a lot more due to the larger emphasis on team compositions and turn-based RPGs, as compared to that of previous Hoyo games. It's definitely going to hurt if you don't get that one guy that could have made your party unstoppable. But at the very least, the characters you get for free in the story are really good, so free-to-play players are still in for a great time. Also, they all look gorgeous as f***. Like, dangerously gorgeous. These are just some insane character designs that are just ready to seduce your wallet. I hate it! But I digress. As far as graphics go, I mean, it's a Hoyo game. Of course it's gonna look really good. The high production values are there with a real sense of love and attention given to its character designs, along with a well-realized game world. The animations are top-notch to the point that even slight changes in stances have a satisfying effect to it. Cinematography also deserves a special mention, as it incorporates engaging switches and perspectives on even the most mundane things, like when selecting which party member to buff. Star Rail looks great, feels great to play, and combat gives off a frantic impression despite being turn-based. Honkai Star Rail looks like a game that has learned from Genshin and Honkai Impact on certain aspects. It's a game that knows that it wants to be an accessible and high-budgeted turn-based RPG that's addicting and easy to play on the go. Gameplay may seem overly simple at first glance, but just like other Hoyoverse titles, it will reveal more depth as you start to form optimal team compositions and make critical tactical decisions to stand against increasingly challenging encounters. Pair that with a narrative that has the potential to surpass Honkai and Genshin Impact's story, and you might just have a title that will set the gold standard for turn-based RPGs in the mobile gaming space. We're giving Honkai Star Rail a projected score of 8 out of 10 at launch. Many aspects of the game could go right or wrong once it comes out, and honestly, that's the fun part. We can't wait to finally get our hands on Hoyoverse's latest title and make a well-informed review to see if this initial version can meet our expectations. So get ready to board the Astral Express and take the journey starward this April 26th. But what about you guys? What are your impressions of Honkai Star Rail? Let us know in the comments down below. Until then, this is Game Made Information Station, signing off.